So 6 amendments on Florida's ballot, some of those results coming in tonight. And we are joined by Nathan Richardson, a law professor at the Jacksonville University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And one of the hotly contested amendments on the ballot was Amendment 3 that would have legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Florida. And that amendment has failed. The AP has called that amendment as not passing. It needed the 60% threshold. So bottom line, what does this mean?
It means that Florida is not following the trend of a number of other states and moving towards greater marijuana legalization. Florida, a few years ago, by similar amendment process, legalized marijuana for folks with certain medical conditions. That remains true in Florida. Interestingly, that took a couple of tries on the ballot too. So it's possible, we don't know for sure, but it's possible the supporters of this amendment will come back and try again, and that experience suggests that it might pass. The numbers that we're seeing show that a majority of voters supported it, but of course there's that 60% threshold in Florida, and it was just barely, it seems like, not enough to cross that threshold here.
Let's talk about Amendment 2 so we understand the right to fish and hunt. That actually passed.
Yes. I'm an environmental lawyer by profession. It took me a while to figure out what was going on with this, and I'm still not positive, I'm sure, what's going on, because as everybody knows, everybody has a right to hunt and fish in Florida already. It's one of the reasons people come to this state. So what would an amendment like this do? It would enshrine in the Constitution a right to hunt and fish, and then there's a second clause that would make it hunting and fishing the preferred means of conservation of wildlife. My fear on this is that what it's going to be used is to prevent reasonable measures to conserve endangered species, to set fishery limits on things like red snapper and things like that. We'll see how the courts interpret it and how it plays out in practice. Maybe it will mean not a lot of change at all, but it's one of those amendments where it looks like it does nothing. It's put on the ballot by the legislature, but depending on how it's interpreted by the courts, it could have a major difference in how we protect wildlife in the state.
Very interesting. Another amendment that has had millions, tens of millions of dollars poured into it is, of course, the abortion amendment. Kind of explain what that would do if it does meet that 60% threshold and if it's passed here in Florida.
If it does meet the 60% threshold, and it's quite close right now, what that amendment would do is prevent the legislature from passing new laws that would limit abortion before viability. It would also repeal what was first a 15-week and now a 6-week ban that was passed after Dobbs here in Florida, and return us to the viability standard, which is a rough plurality of states approach, about 14 states. So it would repeal those two laws. It would not change the part of Florida law that's also in the Constitution that requires parents of minors to be notified if they seek abortion care. But there's another statutory provision that requires parental consent, and there's some lack of clarity in if the amendment were to pass, whether that would change. My interpretation is it very likely might, but again, it would be up to the courts to interpret how to square that statute with the amendment were it to pass.
Mm-hmm. I know that's something that a lot of people have been questioning about, that particular phrasing in the amendment.
Yes, the amendment was clearly written to preserve the existing constitutional right of parents to be notified. That's quite clear. The way constitutional amendments work, though, they can only be 75 words long, so you can't account for everything in them. Also, the parental consent requirement is, again, not in the Constitution. That's by statute. Right. And so it's not totally clear if it would be repealed. Again, that would probably go to the courts. If it is, then that's something, now the abortion rights are constitutionalized, and the legislature couldn't put it back in there.
Okay, well, we are continuing to watch all of the results come in on these 6 amendments on the Florida ballot. Again, the marijuana amendment has failed. The hunting fishing amendment on the Florida ballot, amendment number 2, has passed. Nathan Richardson, thank you so much. And we're going to be checking in with you a little bit later on as we dive deeper into some of these amendments. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.